All right, so yesterday we were reading the story The Crane Wife. And as we read that, we found out that he met this wife that he thought he would never get. She created something beautiful, this cell, and then they sold it and got lots of money for it. And we're living for a little while. And so we're gonna see what happens now. Um, it says, time passed, springtime came, rain fell, and the marsh again bloomed green. The white cranes returned, and Yukiko and Osamu could hear their calls. It was late in the spring when the gold ran out. Once again, Osamu and Yukiko grew hungry. Osamu said, Yukiko, you could weave another magic sail. Oh, husband, I cannot, she replied. It takes all that I am to weave such sails. I'm afraid to weave another. But wife, please, one more. I will never ask again. Yukiko loved him. Do not watch me then, she replied, and she disappeared behind the screen. A full day passed. Yukiko, Osamu called. Do you want water? Do you want rice? The only answer was the sound of the loom rocking. At the end of the 2 days, Yukiko emerged exhausted, holding a second sail, more beautiful than the first. It too held the wind. Thinking only of gold, Osamu ran to the village and sold the magic sail. Everyone talked of Osamu's skill. Yukiko emerged exhausted, holding a second sail, more beautiful than the first. It too held the wind. Thinking only of gold, Osamu ran to the village and sold the magic sail. Everyone talked of Osamu's skill, for he told no one it was Yukiko who made the sails. Again, he was paid enough gold to last 6 long months. It says here that she weaves another sail and is exhausted. Why do you think she was so exhausted from that? What do you think made her so tired when she was making that sail? I think that it was probably a really, really big job. She had no one to help her. She had a lot of pressure on her to help her family. It says, what do you think will happen at the end of the 6 months? It said the gold was only going to last for 6 months. Do you think Yukiko's going to beg, Osamu, do you think Osamu's going to beg his wife to make another one when it makes her so tired and exhausted? Is that a good husband of him? If that was your friend begging you to do something that made you so tired, is that good of them? Let's find out. Time passed and autumn returned, the season of storms. The cranes in the marsh grew restless, their feathers ruffled in the bending grasses and flying leaves. One day, Osamu was visiting the village when a great trading ship docked in the harbor. From it strode a tall captain, a wealthy trader. The captain questioned the fishermen in the harbor, and they all pointed to Osamu. I have sailed a great distance to find you, Osamu, said the captain. I want you to weave a magic sail for my ship. Osamu thought of Yukiko and of the promise he had made. I cannot, he replied. The 2 I made are the only 2 I shall ever make. The captain laughed. Make me a sail, Osamu, and I will pay you a lifetime's gold. You shall never work again. A lifetime gold, thought Osamu. Imagine. It says, it used the word restless. So we've been talking about prefixes this week, but this has a suffix less. And suffix less means like without. So we know that that means they were without rest. So we can see here in the illustration of him demanding the sail. Home he ran. Yukiko, he called. There is a man in the harbor who will give us a lifetime gold if, he stopped in the door, you will weave one more sail. Fear swept across Yukiko's face. Osamu, no, I am afraid. Yukiko, a lifetime gold. Don't you see? We will never want for tea or rice again. But these sails, they take so much from me, he pleaded. It is my very self they take. Osamu frowned at Yukiko. I am your husband, he said. I command you, with his voice growing loud. Yukiko began to weep. Very well, she said, trembling. but promise you will not look at me. I promise. Now go, make my cell. Yukiko pulled the screen before the loom and disappeared. Outside, Osamu paced the porch. He could see the ship at anchor in the harbor waiting. A day passed, then another. Still, Yukiko worked. A third day dawned. Never had she worked so long. What is she doing? Osamu wondered. Yukiko, do you want water? Do you want rice? But she gave no answer. Why, wondered Osamu, should only Yukiko know how to weave magic sails? Why could he not learn the secret of weaving in the wind? Then he could make magic sails, and he could save Yukiko the work she did not wish to do. Osamu could hear the shuttle sliding and the loom rocking. Yukiko, answer me! Unable to contain himself, Osamu ran around the screen. A long beak swung toward him. Sad black eyes gleamed at him. There stood the crane he had saved in the storm. Yukiko! The bird was weaving its white feathers into the sail on the loom. Filled with wind sea, the feathers were trembling. Okay, so what is happening now? How are you feeling about Osamu and how he's changed as a person? I think he's become very greedy, very impatient, and I think things are not going the way he thought they were going to go. Using text and illustrations, how does it help you know what a loom and shuttle weave fabric might be? So we can see here the loom and how they're weaving the feathers off the bird. Isn't that crazy? Yukiko, Osamu cried. But the only answer his crane wife gave was a soft, strange sound, like a cat purring in bamboo reeds. Then Yukiko spread her tattered wings, lifting herself through the window and into the sky. Never again did Osamu see her. He wove simple sails for the rest of his years. There at his window, gazing at the marsh and the white cranes, and each autumn in the season of storms, he waited for a knock on his door. So we find out that the crane was actually his wife, and she would transform herself to the crane and weave such a beautiful, magical sail. And then, but it exhausted her. It almost killed her, and she didn't want him to know her secret. And he did that. And so do you think he would go back and change anything if he could go back in time? Do you think that Osamu would go back and try to be a better person and maybe not be greedy? Let's think about the message here. Think about Osamu and the way that he acts and the way that he wanted more. It's like he got a little bit of something and he was hungry for more and more gold to live. It says the tale has a bigger message about the importance of treating others well. I think we learned from Osamu that we have to treat people well or things will happen to them and they won't stay around to be with us. It says kindness is repaid with kindness, and greed is repaid with sorrow. Greed meaning like when you're greedy with something, you keep it for yourself or you want more of it and you don't share or you don't appreciate something. So it's repaid with sorrow, and sorrow meaning like sadness. And so that is what Osamu got from his wife, is he was greedy, and in the end, he was paid with sorrow.